Welcome to the Jefferson Community College Preventing Harassment training video. This video was adapted from a presentation developed by the government of the state of Louisiana. Additional resources used included information from the American Association of University Women, information from Jefferson Community College website and associated policies, and guidance from the EEOC. As we get started, I would like you to try a little pretest. There are 5 questions. Please write down your answer, true or false. We will return to these questions at the end of the presentation. Number 1. A hostile environment allows the college to get more work completed. True or false? Number 2. I am not responsible for a hostile environment. True or false? Number 3. Being of male, a female cannot cause me to have a hostile environment. True or false? Number 4. Only the college will have to go to court over a hostile environment lawsuit. True or false? Number 5. Diversity at Jefferson is not important to the college's goals. True or false? A hostile college environment serves no good purpose, and it interferes with the college's mission. Most of us spend a significant amount of time at Jefferson Community College. We want the college to be the kind of place that we want to spend our time in. A hostile environment serves no purpose. No one wants to be in an environment where he or she feels harassed and uncomfortable. For a productive learning environment, disrespectful behavior must be eliminated. If we are not productive, the value of the college is diminished. If someone feels harassed, they may not come to school, or they may not work as well as they could, or they may avoid someone that causes lost productivity. The prevention and elimination of harassment is everyone's responsibility. It's everyone's obligation to prevent and eliminate harassment and to abide by college policy. The harasser, the person being harassed, bystanders, observers, and college management all have the responsibility to make sure that Jefferson Community College is free from harassment. In this presentation, you will learn what to do. You do not want to become the next news story, or worse, the next court case. The objectives of this training video are as follows. First, you'll realize the importance of college policies and the law. Second, you will also recognize that every college student needs to know they have a right to learn in a respectful environment. Third, this presentation will cause self-examination of attitudes, beliefs, and actions toward those who are different. Fourth, the presentation will help you know the different types of harassment. Next, you will understand whose job it is to stop harassment. You will understand what is expected when harassment occurs. And lastly, you will hopefully know how to deal with harassment when it happens. Everyone should be familiar with the legal consequences of harassment. If you are not, please seek assistance from the college's Title IX coordinator. That person will review college policy, state, local, and federal laws with you in an effort to clarify the legal consequences. Just what type of behavior is unacceptable? Is telling sexual jokes, Is flirting on the job? Is vulgar language? What if a third person overhears a discussion on something they think is unsuitable? Well, unfortunately, there is no clear answer to these questions. We do get some guidance from the Civil Rights Law of 1964 and Jefferson Community College policy. Let's take a look at Jefferson's policy. The college prohibits discrimination against and harassment of any employee, student, visitor, or vendor based on actual or perceived age, race, marital status, veteran or military status, sexual orientation, religion, sex, national origin, ancestry, ethnicity, citizenship status, color, creed, handicap, disability, familial status, arrest record, and or any other characteristic protected under federal, state, or local law. The college will take all steps necessary to prevent and stop the occurrence of unlawful discrimination and or harassment in the workplace and educational setting. All employees and students share in the responsibility for ensuring a work and educational environment free from prohibited discrimination and harassment. All employees and students will be held accountable for avoiding or eliminating inappropriate conduct that may give rise to a claim of harassment or discrimination. Officials and supervisors must take immediate and appropriate corrective action when instances of prohibited discrimination and or harassment come to their attention to assure compliance with this policy. Each employee and student is assured that retaliation against an individual who makes a complaint or report under this policy is absolutely prohibited and constitutes in and of itself a violation of the policy. You might ask, what is the most common type of harassment today? That type of harassment is sexual harassment. The term harassment describes a behavior that a person finds offensive, aggravating, or otherwise unwelcome. It is unacceptable behavior. Many people still express a fundamental lack of understanding about what behavior constitutes sexual harassment. I will remind you again, sexual harassment is forbidden by college policies and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Here are some statistics related to harassment and college students. These come from a document provided by the American Association of University Women. 80% of students who experienced sexual harassment report being harassed by another student or former student. 51% of male college students admit to sexually harassing someone in college, with 22% admitting to harassing someone often or occasionally. 31% of female college students admit to harassing someone in college. So you'll notice from those statistics that both males and females can be harassed and may be harassers. Additionally, 62% of female college students and 61% of male college students report having been sexually harassed at their university. 66% of college students know someone personally who was harassed. 10% or less of student sexual harassment victims attempt to report their experiences to a university employee. And 35% or more of college students who experience sexual harassment do not tell anyone about their experiences. So what are the types of harassment you may come in contact with? There are two main types of harassment. The first is quid pro quo. The second is hostile environment. Quid pro quo literally means this for that. Quid pro quo harassment occurs when academic decisions or expectations, such as performance standards, grades, access to recommendation, assistance with schoolwork, etc., are based on a student's submission to or rejection of sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other behavior of a sexual nature. These cases involve tangible actions that adversely affect academic progress. Quid pro quo harassment is usually blatant. Here are some examples: demanding sexual favors in exchange for a grade, refusing to write recommendations for a student who refuses sexual advances, changing academic expectations after a student refuses invitations for a date or other private and social meetings. The second type of harassment, hostile environment, is an environment where unwelcome verbal, nonverbal, or physical behavior of a prohibited nature is severe and pervasive enough to unreasonably interfere with a student's learning or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment to a reasonable person. And that's very important, the idea of reasonable person. The hostile environment standard focuses on the poisoning of a learning environment rather than on tangible actions directed against a person. To constitute hostile environment harassment, the prohibited behaviors must be offensive to a reasonable person. An employer, teacher, coworker, vendor, or fellow student can create a hostile environment. Individuals holding positions of authority are responsible for ensuring that employees or students do not create a hostile environment. Hostile environment is less obvious, but often the foundation for charges of sexual harassment. The majority of harassment claims are in fact based on hostile environment harassment. Most people don't understand exactly what a hostile work environment is, and the courts have also grappled with this definition. Here's an example of something that might constitute hostile environment. If a behavior of a sexual nature creates offending, intimidating, or hostile work environment, it would be sexual harassment. So again, if it's offending, intimidating, or feels hostile, it could be and is likely to be sexual harassment. In hostile environment cases, the courts will take into account the frequency of the discriminating conduct, the severity of the conduct, whether it is physically threatening or humiliating, and whether it unreasonably interferes with a person's work performance. You should take note that hostile environment harassment is often the foundation for charges of harassment based on discriminations as well. Courts have been likely to find an illegal hostile environment where there is a presence of pornography, degrading comments, vulgar language, embarrassing questions, sexual touching, sexual jokes, and sexual propositions. You might ask, well, is sexual harassment only a male harassing a female? Well, we have learned prior in this particular presentation that that is in fact not true. While reported less, female on male harassment is considered equally severe as male on female harassment. Same-sex harassment is another form of sexual harassment. Male harassment on another male, or female harassment on another female, for example. In 1998, the Supreme Court stated that same-sex harassment is illegal and will not be tolerated. It is no more acceptable to harass those of the same sex than it is to harass those of the opposite sex. Sexual harassment laws protect against all types of sexual harassment. Would it be sexual harassment if it came from a non-student or a non-employee, such as a vendor, a customer, a client, or a visitor? Do you think the college has an obligation to protect against this type of harassment? Of course it does. Non-employee harassment is still harassment, and it is still the responsibility of the institution to uphold its standards against harassment, whether the offender is a campus member or not. Sexual harassment by a non-student or non-employee is not excusable behavior. Harassment by a non-student or non-employee can lead to sexual harassment charges, just as sexual harassment by a student or employee would. Third-party harassment. Third-party harassment can be difficult to understand, but it can still lead to sexual harassment charges. The point here is that even if our behavior is not directed at someone, it may be making him or her uncomfortable. We need to avoid any behavior that might create an offensive environment for those around us. Behavior not found offensive by some individuals can facilitate an offensive environment for others. For example, a group of students talking about each other's sex lives in the presence of another person who feels very uncomfortable about such discussion would constitute third-party harassment and would be grounds for a complaint. Other types of harassment are equally unacceptable with equally serious consequences. Most people think of sexual harassment when they hear the word harassment, but it is important to realize there are other types of harassment as equally unacceptable and can have equally serious consequences. These are protected categories that are the foundation of the harassment and discrimination laws and college policy. Federal and state legislatures have determined that individuals in these categories should be given special protection under the law. Race, color, defined as a person's ancestry or ethnic characteristics. Because everyone belongs to a certain race or is a certain color, we are all members of this category. Religion is broadly defined as an individual's moral or ethical beliefs. The law provides protection for groups or individuals not belonging to traditionally recognized religions. To be protected under the law, these beliefs must be sincerely held with the strength of traditional religious views. National origin refers to a person's birthplace, ancestry, culture, or a language common to a specific ethnic group. Age, defined as the number of years since a person's birth. Federal law only protects individuals over 40 years of age. Disability, defined as a mental or physical condition that substantially limits one or more major life activities. It must significantly interfere with a person's life to be protected by law. Sexual orientation refers to someone's sexual preference. Pregnancy. State and federal laws protect pregnancy, even the potential for pregnancy, childbirth, and related medical conditions. Political affiliation. As we've stated before, that would be, again, protected. Physical appearance. What a person looks like. Hair color, facial structure, straight hair, weight, those types of things. Disrespectful, harassing behavior toward others based on these areas or any other such characteristic may create an uncomfortable and hostile environment. Jefferson Community College should be a respectful place. We all spend a significant amount of our time at Jefferson, and we know being a student is already stressful without the added stress of harassment. So, what is a respectful college setting? Why respectful behavior? No one wants to be in an environment where he or she feels harassed and uncomfortable. We know respectful behavior facilitates more productive learning. Disrespectful, harassing behavior can cost the perpetrator their opportunity to take classes or even be on the Jefferson Community College campus. disrespectful behavior serves no useful purpose. We must acknowledge that everyone has an equal right to work and learn in a respectful environment. Harassing behavior is bad for everyone, including us as individuals. Such an environment can lower morale and productivity and interfere with the work the college is doing. Why respectful behavior? Well, the 1991 amendment to Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 allows victims to recover punitive damages. Harassment lawsuits usually have personal, legal, and financial consequences for the harasser. The personal financial consequences could be so large that you could lose your home and other personal assets. The best thing would be to stop harassment before it starts. It would be best not to have harassment start in the first place. By using the following building blocks, this is possible. So here is a representation of building blocks. The foundation of equality. Accepting our differences and appreciating our diversity will allow our respectful workplace and college to stand. If we acknowledge equality, accept differences, and appreciate our diversity, then we create a workplace and an educational learning environment where there is mutual respect for all students and employees. No one feels harassed or scared in such a workplace. Does this sound possible? I think it does. It's not, though, if each one of us is not willing to do our part to promote respect at the college. So, how do we stop disrespectful behavior? In order to stop disrespectful behavior, we have signed on to a particular acronym, and the acronym is the word STOP. So, what do each of the letters stand for? S is for source. The source of the disrespectful behavior has a responsibility to stop behaving in such a manner. We need to think about what we say and what we do, as we have the responsibility to not act disrespectfully. So what about us? Are we part of the problem? Have we added to the disrespectful behavior? We should be asking ourselves that on a regular basis. The source or person performing the act must examine his or her actions and stop those that are offensive to others. We need to make sure that our actions are actions that promote respect, not actions that destroy respect. T, target. The target must help confront the harassment or the harasser. If we are offended by others' actions or words, we need to let them know and ask them to stop. The second person with responsibility to stop harassing behavior is the target. Most of us are actually non-confrontational. We are often afraid of other person's reactions and would rather remain silent. We might be afraid that the harasser will increase the harassing behavior, or that he or she might tease us for being oversensitive if we say something. But we must let others know when their behavior is making us uncomfortable. Consider this. The source of the disrespectful behavior may not even know that his or her behavior is offensive to us. How can this person correct his or her behavior if he or she is unaware of the impact? Also, we have to consider the impact on us as the target. We might feel angry, hurt, scared, or depressed. We might even get physically or mentally sick from not dealing with the problem. It could even start to impact other parts of our lives besides our classroom behavior. Whatever the fears, we must let this person know that his or her behavior is offensive. If you have already informed the source that his or her behavior offends you, what should you do? Well, you should document it and report it to the college's Title IX coordinator so that corrective action can be taken. O is observer. Those who observe disrespectful behavior or harassing behavior have the responsibility to stop it when it occurs. And one who notices such is never an innocent bystander. Put it shortly, it is simply the right thing to do. When we observe harassing behavior, we may think that we should stay out of it or that it is none of our business. This is the wrong attitude to have. Allowing such behavior to continue is wrong. We need to call attention to this behavior when we see it. This may involve telling the harasser to stop or reporting harassing behavior to the appropriate person. Playing a role in stopping harassment shows others that harassment will not be tolerated. It also gives support to the target of the harassment who may be feeling scared and hurt. A respectful JCC is everyone's business. Lastly, P, person or person in authority. Every person on the college campus has a duty to keep the college free from offensive and harassing behavior. Each person is crucial to creating a respectful learning environment. We should expect JCC's leaders to challenge disrespectful behavior when they witness it or are told about it, to seriously investigate reports of such behavior, to take action to build and maintain a respectful college setting, and to prevent any retaliation that may be present. If you are not a person's supervisor, if you are just a peer, you still have a responsibility for stopping harassment if observed or if you hear of a complaint. You actually can open yourself up to liability if you do not address the situation. You should care about what you say and how you say it before you say it. This now concludes this particular video. You will be provided with some additional paperwork and have an opportunity for some follow-up discussion. I hope this video has been helpful and provided some information. If you have additional information, please do not hesitate to contact the college's Title IX coordinator or the Vice President for Students. Thank you and enjoy your semester.